Welcome to another episode of Angels, Positivity and Love. Incredible guests the world over with amazing insights, quite often transformative journeys themselves. It's not always a near-death experience. We're up to 5 as the record. A doctor in Canada. One of those near-death experiences was a plane crash, river, frozen over. Incredible story. Check out Dr. Yvonne Quessan's story. Sometimes it's just what life delivers to you. You choose to make the best of it, and then are you giving service to others? I would say 90 to 95% of our guests are doing just that, whether they're international bestsellers, traditional healers, doctors, psychologists, artists, photographers, and I'm starting to get into the realm of the guest we have coming on from Los Angeles today, an amazing guest. Very excited to have him on today and to have him come back if he'll be kind enough to join us again. We've had over 300 shows booked into December of 2025. 210 of those are already taped. We've had over 516,000 channel visits. We're still a super small show, but with a big guest footprint. With no more delay, I'd like to introduce a multifaceted artist. There's no one way about him. He's a photographer, a painter, filmmaker, writer, social commentator. Bravo Valenti is coming to us from Los Angeles. I'm a huge fan of his in the short time we've gotten to know each other. Bravo, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me here. I love you. I love your show, and I'm excited to be here.
Well, Bravo, you've had a really storied past, and you've also got some pretty incredible sensory abilities. You've turned to art as a great modality, a way to sort of connect the universe to people, or to help people connect to their hearts more and the universe, whichever way you're going to describe it. Where did this all begin? Was it childhood, like it is for most? Did you run away from it for a while? And then could you just start somewhere in your life story, wherever you'd like?
Yeah, it started very late in life. I mean, I was always creative. I was always interested in social issues, even as a little kid. I was always connected to different cultures. I learned how to speak foreign languages when I was a teenager. So, I mean, I was an interesting guy or a guy interested in life and culture and all those kinds of things. But I didn't actually become an artist or think of myself as an artist until 2014 at the age of 57. And for those of you who are a little bit into numerology, I was born on 2/14/57, and I was reborn at the age of 57 in 2014. So those numbers had a lot of meaning to me, 2/14 and 57. And I was reborn because I had gone through a horrible trauma. My ex-wife had been actually had lost her mind. She had basically had a mental breakdown after we got divorced. She had been having a mental breakdown. After we got divorced, she actually had begun plotting to have me killed.
Mm.
And when that didn't work out, she actually ended up killing somebody and getting a life sentence for premeditated murder. It is a horrible, tragic thing, and we have a son in common. We raised together. We were married for 15 years, and it was my son who saw that for several years after she had done this senseless murder, for several years I was floundering. I was just pretending I was happy.
Mm.
I was sort of just going, like, I acted as if, kind of like, look, life goes on, I'm okay. And my son saw that I was not okay.
Mm.
And he was struggling, of course, with his own PTSD from all of this. But he dealt with it by basically diving in deep into his interests. And he saw that I was just lost. And one day he saw several photographs I had taken with my iPhone. And my son had graduated film school. He was into film, photography, lenses, cameras. And he saw that these photographs that I had taken, which to me were just photos that I had taken. I mean, I saw something interesting, I took a picture, big deal. And I never thought of myself as out doing photography or anything like that. I was out one day, had my phone. Oh, that looks cool. Take a picture. And my son looked at these photos. He goes, you took these pictures? I said, yeah, well, why? He said, they're unbelievable. I said, what's so unbelievable about them? I was at the beach. I saw this guy with a surfboard. He goes, what made you take it from that angle? Why did you shoot against the sun? How come you squatted down to get this angle on that photo? And he saw all these things that I did that I didn't even know I did. So he said, look, Dad, you've been lost ever since Mom had her breakdown. I said, no, I'm okay. I'm fine. No, don't worry about me. I'll be fine. Worry about yourself. Yeah. He was like, Dad, we have to do something to change your life. You don't realize how bad it's gotten. He said, I want you to go today to Santa Monica Beach. I'm going to hand you a professional camera and 2 lenses. And he took one of his digital cameras with 2 lenses. He goes, you only need to know 3 things: aperture, f-stop, whatever, film speed, speed of the light on the media card, what we used to call ASA, today is now called ISO, and f-stop and all that. He goes, that's all you need to know. 3 things. Think of it like 3 ways of letting in the light. He goes, I want you to go today to Santa Monica Beach at sunset, what photographers call magic hour, the hour or so before the sun goes down. And he goes, all I want you to do is put on 1 lens, look at the ocean, turn away from the ocean, take off that lens, put on the other lens. He gave me a wide angle lens and a medium lens. He says, and I want you to put on the other lens, point it towards the ocean, move around, look around, point it away from the ocean. You don't have to take any pictures. Just come home and tell me if you experience anything. All right. I go down to Santa Monica Beach. It's just before Thanksgiving in 2014. And it is really cold that day. And we have what literally was the single most spectacular Southern California Technicolor sunset you could ever hope for. And I'm down at Santa Monica Beach. I'm cold with this camera. And I look at the camera. I look through the lens. I look at the ocean. I look away. I take the lens off. I put the other lens on. I look at the ocean. I look away. And literally, it was like somebody put LSD in my tea. I had an out-of-body experience. And I said to myself, holy mackerel. I have been looking at life and the world my entire life through only 1 narrow lens. I said, photography is literally a portal to another dimension. It's not about taking pictures. It's not about what you see that other people see and capture. It's about what you see that other people can't see. And a light bulb went off, and I said, that's what an artist is. Somebody who sees what other people can't see. And I never thought of it this way. I spent the whole night taking pictures, came home with like 500 pictures on the camera. My son said, you got it. You got it. And he hugged me. He goes, oh my gosh, so you do life. And I literally spent every single day, all day with my camera for almost 4 years, did not put the camera down for 1 second.
I love it. Who picked
That's
you?
how
How did you sell your first photograph?
Well, it's interesting. That's a great question. I didn't really make money with photography for, first of all, the whole first year I was just learning, right? And yet my son collected, he actually had an eBay business at the time where he bought and sold vintage lenses. And these were really obscure lenses. I mean, and he would adapt them so that you could use them on digital cameras with adapters. It's kind of a thing, right? You're probably familiar with that. And it's interesting because when you put them on a digital camera, now you have to manually focus them. You can't do autofocus, so it becomes a whole new thing, right? And he would adapt TV cameras and even military cameras and obscure lenses from different. So I would often have these very esoteric camera lenses on my camera. And because LA is a city of photographers and cinematographers, even they very often were not familiar with these lenses. So if they saw me with my camera and this lens, they would assume I was some super talented photographer. I must be some famous photographer. They come over to, where did you get that lens? What the heck is that? And I'd be like, well, it's a, Kodak 1962, 16 millimeter. Like I'm some expert, It's the only lens my son told me that morning what it was, And right, I genius. And they would, they I was brilliant. And they would go, well, can I see what you shoot? And I'd go, well, I'm kind of just getting started. And they would laugh because nobody who's just getting started would have one of these lenses. So they'd be like, it's like a ridiculous price lens. So they would be like, yeah, right, buddy, sure. So I'd be like, no, yeah, I'm just getting started. Well, can we see what? So I go, sure. And I flip out the side view thing. And they look at the photography and they go, dude, you're just getting started? Like, that's an incredible photograph. That's amazing. But I was so new at it, it took me a while till and these were guys that were Vogue photographers, National Geographic photographers. I mean, they were Hollywood set photographers for major movies. I was like, if these guys are telling me my work is good, maybe I'm good, right? So at the end of 1 year, I had kind of figured out what my path was as a photographer. And I saw that because all of my photography was street photography in LA, it hit me that I had kind of captured a side of LA that people don't normally see. People think of LA as, Beverly Hills, plastic surgery, celebrities, the red carpet, Hollywood. I was shooting what I called, the way I put it was, most photographers come to Los Angeles to shoot celebrities and models. I shoot everybody else. The young and the restless, the bold and the beautiful, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And that was my thing. So I called my entire body of work, Everybody Gets Shot in LA. And it was kind of an homage to how I started photography because my ex-wife shot somebody. So I was like, everybody gets shot in LA, right? Except they get shot with a camera and not a gun. And when I started shooting people, I suddenly became friends with all of these hipsters and artists and gay people and transsexuals and homeless people and every kind of person I came across. And one of my photographs got chosen, to answer your question finally, I'm a long-winded answerer, was a panel of jurors that were putting on the first, believe it or not, in 2017, it was the first LGBTQ themed photo show at Photo LA, which is like a 40-year-old annual big photo show. But they had never had a gay themed photo show. And I mean, LA had many gay themed, but not that event, Photo LA. So they did a show called Redefining the Queer Aesthetic. And they picked 30 photographers who they felt redefined the gay aesthetic. And one of my photos of a young gay aspiring actor, dancer, singer who never ended up having a career, typical, another aspiring talent who had panache and personality and style and talent, but like countless people doesn't make it. And I did a photo of him vaping, and that photo got picked as one of the 30 photos. And that was my first recognition as a photographer.
Beautiful. Now, hey, this is a quick question on the skill. Was it learning photography or was it remembering?
Wow, what a brilliant question. And I almost wish I knew the answer. I never felt, well, I shouldn't say that I didn't learn. My son gave me advice every single day. I would come home, we would look at photos together, and he'd be like, Dad, got to crop it just a drop more. Dad, turn up the contrast just a drop. Dad, that's great, but look carefully. It's not razor tack sharp focus. He would really help train my eye for everything. So I have to say that I did learn, I was mentored by somebody who I consider to be one of the most brilliant, if not my own son. And I also was lucky to live in what I call the University of Los Angeles, which is the streets of Los Angeles, where literally photographers and artists and visual artists and filmmakers would sit and talk with me when I was still a nobody. I had no reason to think that people with that level of experience, I'll give you one quick example. The first week that I was out shooting, I'm standing on Fairfax Avenue. And, let me preface this. When I was a kid, I was really into foreign movies as a teenager. And I don't know if you remember the movie Blow Up by Michelangelo Antonioni. He's an Italian filmmaker, and he's famous for a movie called Blow Up, where a super hip London, swinging England in the 1960s, and David Hemming, the British actor, plays this groovy playboy fashion photographer. And of course, he's got all these sexy models that want to have sex with him in his photo studio. And there's a famous scene where he has a threesome with these two beautiful, sexy models that he's photographing. And of course, here I am after a disastrous divorce and tragic ending to my marriage. And I'm going to be a photographer in LA, and I'm just going to be meeting girls. Oh my gosh, he's got a photo of David Hemming on his desk. This is insane. Who has a photo? Only you, Angel.
David Hemming. It was an iPad. I cheated.
Yep. It was what?
It was an iPad. I cheated.
Oh, you pulled it. I gotcha. Okay. Well,
yeah.
That's David Hemming, though. But David Hemming, that actor, British actor, he unbelievably gave me this childhood, this teenage, not childhood, adolescent fantasy that a photographer, if you're a fashion photographer, you're a guy who's going to meet all these sexy models, blah, blah, blah. So when I go out to become a photographer on the street, I'm there, here I am, I'm going to just meet girls, blah, blah, blah. And of course, my first photo that wins an award is for the queer aesthetic with a gay guy that I photographed, right? So that's a whole learning experience. So I'm on Fairfax Avenue in my neighborhood, which is a hip, trendy, offbeat kind of underground scene. And I'm on there, and a girl walks by, super gorgeous Asian American woman in short shorts, great body. And she walks by and she's got metallic green hair, right? That classic, dyed punky goth hair, whatever, metallic green. And it's like around sunset and the sun is bouncing off her metallic hair. And I'm just getting started. So I take her picture from a distance. She doesn't know that I took the picture. About an hour later, I bump into her in a drugstore. And I had just gotten started. And ironically, when I first got to LA, I had said to my son a joke about, I'm from New York. The women are so much more sophisticated. I'm not into these LA chicks with their metallic hair and their green hair. And I was making fun of it, right? And I go into this drugstore and I see her. And I go over and go, excuse me. I go, I'm not much of a photographer. I'm kind of just getting started. But I saw you walk by and this hair of yours, the light was bouncing off the hair. Maybe you'd like the photo. Let me show you the photo. She goes, I would love to see it. And I show her the photo and she goes, oh, that's actually a great photo. She goes, that's really good. She goes, I'm actually a photographer myself. I said, oh, really? She goes, yeah, I'm a fashion photographer. I'm actually a very well-known fashion photographer. So I said, and she was like 27 years old, 26 years old. And I was 57, almost 50. So I was like, wait a second. Oh, and she says to me, I really love that photo. She goes, would you like to collaborate? And I think to myself, I'm 57 years old. I just started to learn photography. And this young woman who's already got a career at 27 is inviting me to collaborate. But I was making fun of young people with metallic green hair to my son. And that's when I realized that the photography journey was not about learning photography. It was about learning about myself. And that art was a healing process, not just an image manufacturing process. And that's when my life really started to change.
Hmm.
Then the angels start coming in.
And you've had a lot of experiences with the universe and celebrities on the other side, whether you call it channeling or just sensory experiences with them. We'll get to that in a little bit. Talk to us about the one thing that you're grateful you left behind to adopt this new attitude of openness, embracing the universe and art.
Wow, that's actually an easy one to answer. Money. I had a realization. Again, it wasn't something I should take credit for that I had a realization. My son pointed out to me something that made me that my entire life when he was growing up, just in a way that's not that abnormal in our culture, I thought of everything from a monetary perspective. And we live in a culture that teaches us that we assign a monetary value to pretty much everything. Your kid goes to school. What are you going to do with that? How are you going to make money with that? Not, a man marries a woman, my wife, my daughter just got married. They're very happy. They're doing very well. They just bought a new home. They just bought a new home. They're doing well. Maybe they're fighting all day, but they have a new house, right? But they're fighting inside the new house. Not my daughter got married, she's having sex every day, and she's madly in love with her husband. No, my daughter got married, she's happy, they bought a new home, right? So everything has a consumer or monetary value, right? So for me, when my son said to me, Dad, when you were making a lot of money, all you talked about was how you can make a lot more money. Michael's interesting. After we had originally met, I heard an interview with you and I found out all about your Wall Street background. And that to me was a big connection. That was amazing when I heard you talk about that. So it really was incredible to listen to you talk about that because I know you were quite successful in the financial world.
More public relations after that.
On the PR
Wall
side.
Street,
On
I
the
looked
PR
so
side,
young. Yeah, I jumped into public relations. That I did well.
The PR side, in the PR
Yeah.
world. So thank you for correcting me on that. But you had started with the financial markets, right? So I had worked peripherally in the private equity space, but not directly on Wall Street. But I had previously had a business with my brother that serviced law firms that were 90% connected to Wall Street. In fact, one of our biggest clients was the law firm that helped invent the leveraged buyouts of the 1970s that ruled Wall Street, with KKR and all of that. So I was very familiar with that whole world. And when I got it, so my son said, Dad, when you were successful and making a lot of money, you talked about, well, how can we make more money? And then when you lost a lot of money and a business didn't do well, or you were broke or whatever, all you did was talk about how can we make more money? So it didn't matter if you were rich or poor or in between. The topic was, how do I make money? So that's all life was how to make. So I never thought of myself this way, ever. And yet he saw that. And so it really hit me hard because I never thought of myself that way. So the first thing that my son and I agreed to was that I would not monetize photography. And it wasn't that I wouldn't be allowed to sell my photography. What he meant was, you will never photograph anything based on somebody paying you to do it. If someone says, I want to hire you, what do you charge? Tell them, I only shoot what I shoot. Now, if you shoot something and somebody says, wow, what an amazing photograph, I want to buy a print, no problem. Sell them for $500, $500,000, whatever you want. He said, but never let somebody tell you that you're going to do their photography for them for a certain price if you really want to be an artist, right? Now, this may or may not be true for every photographer. There are other photographers that may be great artistic photographers and also be for hire, whatever, that's fine. But he meant it specifically as a way for me to stop assigning a monetary value and to see life differently. And it worked. And here's where the angel side comes in. So I agreed to this, but I was quite nervous because I did not have a steady income at the time. And I had a very small investment that I had made in a completely cockamamie, nutty investment that I had no reason to believe would ever really pay off. But I had just gotten my first check from them after 3 years of thinking that it was a scam. And when I got the first check, it was such a minuscule amount that I was convinced that it was an even bigger scam, because now they were going to send out small checks to try to get you to invest more as a, bait thing for people. And I was too smart for that. I was like, no, I'm not going to fall for that. But I said, you know what? I just got this one check unexpectedly. Maybe there are angels looking over me. Maybe this whole photography journey is such a blessing that I just need to trust the universe that when I need money, the money will be there. And I just have to keep my expenses as low as possible until I see where things are at. Because I had very little savings, almost nothing. And if I tell you without exaggeration, Michael, there were months I was down to my last dollar. And the next day, I would get a $5,000 check. And there were months where I got $20,000. And then for the next 4 months, I didn't get a dime. And I wasn't sure if that was the last $20,000. And I had no way to know. And yet, here I am years and years and years later. And like Elton John said, I'm still standing.
Okay, your son. In the grand universal scheme of things, if it was past lives, everything else, have you two figured out how many times you've done this rodeo together? Not just as father and son today, but who was who, when? Can you share one past life together or concurrent life? Since it's argued, the more love you do now, it bleeds into the other side of whatever life we're talking about.
Sure. Now, my son doesn't realize this, but there were two things I've channeled twice. I have a portrait of my son as a Renaissance. He was a real Renaissance man in the Dutch Renaissance. And he was a mystic a few thousand years ago.
Sounds like a very sharp man, philosopher, and definitely good insight. And he was able to give you great advice and steer you along the way. And there are no accidents. To quote Joe Shu, what about it when the blind turtle finds the plank? It was no accident. So with that, what did you want to share with us on anything? The universe, love, compassion, follow your heart, follow your unique life path, kindness, gentleness, how positivity is the true abundance, or something else. We all have no limits. Good luck with that. Take us down the mystical road or the philosophical road.
Sure. Well, a lot of people might not know about my book, which is called Thank You, I Love You. And that's why that artwork behind me also says Thank You, I Love You. I'm going to plug my book if I may.
Yes, please.
So this is the cover of the book, Thank You, I Love You. And the reason why it's called Thank You, I Love You is because I was on an LSD trip and I received it's described in detail in the book. So I'll spare you the in-depth details, but the end result of the trip was that at the end of the trip, I had gone on a journey that was beyond anything I had ever experienced previously. And in the book, I described that journey. And it was not my first rodeo. And but I had an experience that was so far beyond anything I had ever previously experienced. And at the very end, I was told that the meaning of this experience was that in order to return to the place of pure love and magic that I had experienced, that the secret password was described to me as a secret password is thank you, I love you. And the LSD trip then instantly ended. Instantly. It went from beyond psychedelic to over. And there was this echoing voice, thank you, I love you. And done, gone. And I just burst into tears. And it would take a while until I had another out-of-body experience, but that was not on an LSD trip, that occurred in 2018 on the same day on the Hebrew calendar as today. Yom Kippur of 2018. So today is the anniversary of the day that Victor Vasarely, who was a Hungarian artist, a French-Hungarian artist, known predominantly as the father of op art, optical illusion art, which was sort of in the 1960s, became popular in the 60s and continued thereafter, where it was considered part of the psychedelic era. But Victor Vasarely never advocated or spoke about LSD, but he was associated with the LSD crowd. And the LSD crowd actually even made blotter paper with Victor Vasarely art on it that you can even find today on eBay sometimes. And I have a Victor Vasarely poster on my wall. And that Victor Vasarely poster really had very little meaning to me. It was literally nothing more than wall decor. I saw it on eBay. It reminded me of the 60s. It was kind of cool. I had no hardcore, deep connection to it. I never looked at it and said, I wonder what the artist meant by this. It was just something hanging on the wall I thought looked cute. And this was from before I ever thought of myself as an artist. I had bought it years before this journey. And one day I walk into my room on Yom Kippur of 2018, and I look down the side of my wall, and the Victor Vasarely is facing the opposite way, and I'm looking at it out of the corner of my eye, and it's a dot pattern. The picture is a dot pattern, and I look at it, and I see a face floating made out of the dot pattern, not a separate image from the art, but made out of the dot pattern. And I think to myself, wait a second, there's a face that's hidden in. People have never noticed this, that there's a portrait of a face that you can only see if you look at it from this bizarre angle that no one's ever going to look at the thing at. I go, like, if you're only like a 16th of an inch away from the frame and looking at it at an angle, a raking shot, as they say in photography, and the face looks at me and goes, thank you, I love you. And I then go on a long day's journey into night, as Eugene O'Neill might have said, with the artist Victor Vasarely's spirit, who gives me an in-depth explanation that the reason why I was delivered thank you, I love you, was because our world is moving towards self-annihilation, not due to a lack of technological know-how, not due to a lack of alternative clean energy resources, not due to political impasse, not due to political conflict, not due to lack of financial capability, but due to a lack of gratitude and love. And so he then gave me what ended up being a horrific vision of a future for humanity in which Earth has been destroyed and people have been moved into outer space. And when this was all over, I started asking myself, why would Victor Vasarely, of all the artists in history, be the one to contact Bravo Valenti, a relatively unknown artist, but who he may realize is a medium and can receive the messages because he knows I've received messages. But why would he be the one to contact me? So I look up Victor Vasarely, who I know almost nothing about, other than that he's this op artist. And I find out that he was the first artist in history to send his art onto a spaceship into outer space. And he did it in the 1970s in order to incentivize international cooperation in outer space for scientific advancement of humanity, because he was a humanitarian. And at that time, people believed that if France and the United States and other Western countries would partner with the Soviet Union, we could move away from the potential of nuclear war and end the Cold War through peaceful cooperation on education and scientific events. And so he did this as a fundraiser for UNESCO, the UN Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization. And he was pointing out to me that the promise of peace through space exploration has now been replaced with the potential for totalitarianism through space colonization. There's a big difference. And he was showing me that there are specific billionaires, Elon Musk, Richard Branson, Jeff Bezos, that have plans for humanity in outer space that are very contradictory to human freedom and to the survival of our planet. And so in my book, I go into detail in that, into much more detail. So the message I want to deliver, the one thing, is for everyone to use what I now call a mantra, but it was originally called a secret password. And that mantra is thank you, I love you. And I have found that when I share it with people and when we use it, the magic the vibration goes beyond anything. I say to people, look, I don't want to talk to you about climate crisis. Just say thank you, I love you. Use thank you, I love you. It will unlock for you your ability to understand climate crisis, to understand space colonization. You'll figure it all out. You'll stop eating at the fast food chains. You'll stop contributing to the destruction of our planet if you start using thank you, I love you.
And it's very similar to a shortened version of the Hawaiian.
It is. And this is very interesting because the first person I told this to, well, not first, but one of the first, was a very close friend of mine, Ben Caron, who, Caron. People should look up Ben. He's a phenomenal performer and activist and spreader of love and gratitude and compassion and healing differences. A couple of weeks, he's going to be starting his Reunited States of America tour. He's phenomenal and bringing people together. And one of the things he pointed out to me was the Hawaiian Anupanu, right? And he said to me, yes, thank you, I love you, I'm sorry. And I was told very specifically, drop, I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. The secret password is thank you, I love you. I'm sorry. Nothing wrong with saying I'm sorry. Please apologize to all the people that you've hurt in your life. But let's start off with love and gratitude and let go of any past baggage. Let go of any disequal or unequal. You hurt me, I hurt you, I owe you, you owe me. There's no apologies. Let's start over fresh. Thank you. I love you. I love you. You love me. We've all screwed up this planet, every one of us. We blame you and I, we blame ExxonMobil. But it's you and I who go every day to these fast food chains and consume the styrofoam and consume the plastic and eat the junk food and throw it in the trash can. And what, you never thought to yourself that you were contributing to global warming? You never thought you were helping destroy the planet? When I was 16 years old, I stopped eating at fast food chains. But I know tons of people who kept going for the rest of their lives, not thinking twice about what they were doing to the planet. Well, if you're not willing to think about what you're doing to the planet, why should ExxonMobil? Why are you expecting them to act any differently than you act? Right? So don't blame them. They won't blame you. Thank you. I love you. Let's thank them and love them for all the decades of driving our cars and having fun, having a gas station in every corner. Now let's tell them thank you. I love you. Stop. We've had enough. Let's start over fresh. Right?
I love it. Thank you. And on the run today, I was saying I love you out loud at least a couple dozen times, or maybe
Beautiful.
36 times out loud,
But you're a
talking to
force
the
for positive
tree.
energy everywhere you go. I mean,
I hope once in a while, at least like a broken clock twice a day, with the hands being fresh
yeah,
twice
always
a day.
12.
So,
A broken
okay.
clock is right twice a day. That's right.
Talk to us about the importance, though, of letting go. There's thinking that goes on from the neck up. There's something down in the heart area. It may not actually be the heart, but for today, let's just say the heart. That's awareness, consciousness, no limits, timelessness. What am I missing? Consciousness, love, non-conditionality, or just, again, the eternal. I think that would be Joseph Campbell. How about this, though? There's something called fear, judging that precludes possibility, knowing that precludes possibility, the biggest currency of mankind. We all take a Polaroid and say it's this way. We're all going around like Ananda Mayama said, everyone's right, is what she said. So at some point, you get past right and wrong, and there's proper
Absolutely.
understanding. You were just touching on
Non-dichotomous
that.
thinking. Yeah, non-dichotomous thinking. We grow up in a dichotomous mentality, good, bad, right? Love, hate, war, peace, everything is dichotomous. And it seems to make sense to look at the world that way. But it really is not how the world functions once you think in terms of gratitude and love. Because with gratitude and love, it's not right or wrong. It's based on gratitude and love, right? Is my decision a decision based on gratitude and love, or is it based on punishment? Is it based on revenge? Is it based on something else? And if it's not based on gratitude and love, then you're not coming from the right place. So with gratitude and love, you're always right. There is no right and wrong. So when you say, how do you get there and get to non-judgment and letting go? And it's interesting you brought that up because this Sunday, I'm holding my first live letting go through scribbling workshop. And it's called Letting Go Through Scribbling. And it was my journey through scribbling that became the next stage of my mystical evolution, my spiritual evolution. It started with photography. And then after several years of photography, one day, through some encouragement that a close friend of mine that we call Cartoon, King Cartoon is his street name, but my friend King Cartoon encouraged me to take up painting. And King Cartoon was a young African-American kid from Philadelphia that I met who turned me on to abstract painting. And, when we grow up with misconceptions and living in our limited worlds, we always look at the other and people are different from us, right? Here I was, 58 years old and 21-year-old black kid from Philadelphia is teaching me how to become an abstract artist, right? So, just like you gotta open yourself up to, all the possibilities. And how do you get to that point of non-judgment? When you realize, wow, I was judging girls with metallic red hair or green hair, or I look at a young kid from what do I have to learn from him, right? And these are people that you could be learning from, right? And who are not judging you. That's the amazing thing about young people today. So many young people today, because the barriers between black and white and gay and straight and all those things that were hangups for the earlier generations have been eliminated among a lot of young people, not all, but a lot of young people today, they don't care if their friends are gay, they don't care if their friends are different cultures, different races. They all party together, hang out together, go to school together. So they grow up in a much more multicultural, multi-ethnic environment and multisexual environment. And so they are so much more naturally non-judgmental. But to really push your non-judgmentalism, what I love to teach people and practice is scribbling. So when I first decided I wanted to learn how to paint and draw, I thought to myself, okay, I'll watch some YouTube videos on how to draw. So I put on these YouTube videos and I'm like, okay, shapes, dark and light, vanishing points, perspective. And I'm studying these things, how to draw the human hand. And I'm okay at it. I think, okay, if I practice, I'll get good at it. But after a few lessons of seeing that I could pretty much draw, I thought to myself, there must be 100 million people on this planet, if not more, who can draw really well. High school art teachers all draw really well. You know, you don't have to be a famous artist to draw well. And there are completely unknown artists who don't even show their work to anybody. Just draw at home, who love to draw and who draw really, really well. And I was like, I don't just want to be another guy who draws really, really well. So I thought to myself, how does an artist figure out their own style, their own voice? So I thought it was just an idea. I'm thinking to myself, how does a child learn how to draw? And I think they start scribbling. And they don't even necessarily look at what they're trying to draw. They just literally scribble without even, they don't even know what we don't even know what we don't know. And they're scribbling on the furniture, on the wall, on a piece of paper. And I thought to myself that scribbling is a universal childhood experience. Even in the poorest countries, a kid will pick up a stick. And literally in an impoverished refugee camp, he'll pick up a stick and scratch in the dirt. I said, I wonder what would happen if an adult scribbled. And so every day for about a week, I went to a couple of different cafes and I would scribble in a sketchbook, not doodle, scribble, not no, literally scribble, turn the page, scribble, take a pen, a magic marker, a pencil, scribble in different colors. And then 1 week later, I'm in a cafe by myself and I start scribbling with charcoal. And I look at the scribble and I see a face in the scribble. Now, this is not exceptional in any way, shape, or form. You can look at any abstract anything, and we're all, it's like looking at a cloud and going, what do you see? Oh, that cloud looks like Zeus, or it looks like a man on a horse, a guy on a horse, or whatever. Nothing major about this. But I see this face, and I take my charcoal and I start highlighting the face. And the face is of a young black male with a very specific set of braids and a very specific jawline. And that's the scribble of him. And he walks in the door 10 minutes, 15 minutes after I scribble him.
Wow.
And you can see what he looks like. And so the whole story's in the book, but I had just had a psychic vision, a telepathic vision of a guy arrive, and I drew him, literally drew him into existence. And it hit me that scribbling might create new neural pathways or random pathways that we normally don't create because we stop scribbling. And that scribbling is part of brain development. So I went on a massive one-man experiment beyond anything you can imagine with scribbling. And that's what eventually led to me being contacted by the spirit world. It went from telepathy to mediumship.
Wow. I love this.
Wild. It was wild. And I'm now beginning to do live scribble workshops. I have 2 of them in the next 2 weeks. I've done it. I did it during the pandemic via Zoom. And it was a phenomenal experiment, but now it's time to do it live. I didn't have a location to do it. Somebody just offered me a free location in Venice Beach, California. And if anybody listening wants to come, let Michael know and he'll let me know and I'll make sure you have a seat available because we only have 15 spots and about 11 are taken already. But it's on October 19th and October 13th and October 19th in Venice Beach, California from 2 to 5 in the afternoon.
Well, and definitely for 2025, people can get in touch as well. We're going to do a quick lightning. We're going to do a lightning round here of just some of the classic healing modalities or just sensory modalities. And also just basic questions. So if I asked you, is love the fabric of the universe? Is it a hearty yes?
Love is the real fabric of the universe.
Thinking gets in the way a little?
path humanity has gone on gets away, has gotten in the way a lot.
And angels exist, yes?
Angels are everywhere.
Have you had a human encounter, a sparkly-eyed stranger, you turned around, they're gone, they just said what you were talking about the day before, they repeated the exact phrase you said at the dinner 2 nights earlier. Do you have one of those stories you could quickly
Oh,
share?
sure, sure. I guess fits into that category. I think it does. I was at the post office a few blocks from my place, and my mother had passed away only a few months earlier. And my mom collected a lot of very inexpensive necklaces and jewelry and costume jewelry and stuff. For years, she had a closet full of this stuff that she would get. She ever paid more than $3 for anything, and everything was $1, $2, 50 cents. But she had an amazing eye and collected the coolest stuff. So one day I'm at the uh, post office, and a woman sees me wearing this pewter bracelet from my mom that has a medieval scene on it of a fiddler and a bunch of medieval people drinking beer on an outdoor table at a pub. And she sees this on my arm and she goes, and she's about my mom's height, and she's dressed very much the way my mom dressed at that age. She doesn't look like my mom, but she's the same size, same build, and the same kind of clothes. And she comes over and she goes, "You must travel to such interesting places." Oh, and my mom talked to everybody. She was what Jewish people call a yenta. She literally talked to everybody. And no joke, my mother never met a stranger. So she comes on and she goes, "You must travel to such interesting places to find something like that." And I said, she goes, "That's beautiful." And I said, "Well, thank you." I go, "But it was my mother's." I said, and she picked it up at garage sales. She would buy all these different things. And I said, when she passed away recently, blah, blah, blah. So I have a few of her pieces that I wear, and I gave most of them away to girlfriends and that were pieces that I felt too feminine, but I kept a few that were unisex, and this is one of them. And she was like, cool. So she goes up to the post office window. I go to the post office window, and then she comes up to me and she goes, "I don't know what your religious beliefs are." She said, "But I believe that human consciousness never dies after the body is gone. You keep wearing that bracelet your mother gave you, so she'll always know where you are." And she took off, and I never saw her again.
I love it. Hey, are you ready to catch some sage from Texas to California, LA in particular?
Always,
We've done
always.
this before. We know it works. But if you're a new guest and you haven't subscribed, like, share, commented, emojis count. Don't be shy. You could even do doodling with characters. That counts since this is a very special show today. We've had, again, a lot of visitors, but a very shy crowd. We still get comments, though, people saying they've caught the sage. I'm going to light sage. It's Juniper Ridge, a California company at the Whole Foods. All the Whole Foods, I think. They're still carried there. Very consistent sage. Some people are hypersensitive might taste it. It's okay. You might smell it. But why settle for just amazing linear sage? Because you're expecting this plant medicine, universal consciousness, whatever you want to call it. Why not ask for something else like flowers, a little ocean, catch a little Hawaii since we were talking about it earlier or referencing it earlier. Bravo, are you already catching a little bit of sage, red-tailed hawkcrest?
I can smell it. I can't believe I can smell it. I can smell it.
I didn't do it. We're blaming angels, or let's blame Canada instead. Okay. Ask for something else though, if you would. It could be bird of paradise. It could be hibiscus in Hawaii. I'm going to blow through today. My microphone's down below. If anybody's wondering, I'm blowing low here. Hawaii, your way. You'll feel sea spurts on the nose. Catch a little Hawaii in the air. Why not? And if you could just let us know that you got that.
Oh, I get it. I got it.
Okay. You're sensitive. Can you describe some of the categories that you've had experiences in? What are you still learning to let go on that you don't call yourself that yet? There's so many categories. And then there's so many ways the human mind has a way of getting in the way of what your natural talents are, except for
Right.
painting, photography, and a bunch of other stuff that you clearly let go on and went like this on. Whoa.
Right, right.
Where are you holding back still on? Have you seen auras on people?
I don't see, or thank you for asking. I do not see auras on people. I don't claim to see auras on people. I have channeled ancestors for people, but not as a paid service. I don't do that kind of stuff. I'm very careful not to get involved in what I don't want to criticize anybody else for what they do, but I've always understand that I became a medium and I never believed in mediums. I never studied media. I never thought that channeling existed. This happened to me. It wasn't something I pursued. It wasn't something I was reading about. It wasn't something I even believed in or had an interest in. It literally happened to me. So it was like somebody who crosses a freeway and believes they can't get hit by a truck. I run across the freeway. I don't have to worry about getting hit by a truck. The day they get hit by a truck, they're going to believe you can get hit by a truck. So, right. So when I got hit by a truck and I had to say, yeah, I guess I was wrong. These trucks actually do drive on this freeway and they can hit you. So I'm saying that because when you say, is there anything, I don't, so I have channeled and confirmed channelings, but where it's unexpected, or where, again, I do it without assigning any monetary value. I do portraits of people that I call psychic portraits. Where if I channel while I'm doing the portrait, if I channel their past lives, if I get a visit from one of their ancestors, I share that with them. And I do the portrait with the intent of channeling whatever I can. But the only reason why I'm being paid, though, is for the portrait. And if, you're paying me for the portrait, and if I happen to channel your ancestors, if I happen to whatever, then, that comes along with the portrait. But if I don't, I'm not going to make up that, some story about your grandmother talking to me while I was drawing her portrait so that you could pay me some ridiculous amount of money because you believe something that I made up out of thin air, right? I don't pull that nonsense. But I'll let you pay me to do her portrait, right? But the hardest part that I've learned to master, but it has to be done still consciously as opposed to just doing it, right? Which is to not worry. So letting go of all worry. I mean, all worry. Meaning that, let's say, for example, today you have no money and tomorrow you have a $5,000 bill that you have to pay. Well, and you have no way, literally no way to get that $5,000. Now, the universe expects you to do everything you can to get that $5,000 within reason, right? That legitimately get it. So let's say that you thought to yourself, okay, I could call my mother. Maybe she'll lend me the $5,000. You call your mom. Oh, son, I would love to help you. I don't have any money right now, whatever. And you've exhausted all your resources. You're now going to go into worry mode. Oh my gosh. Let go of all worry. Learning that I tried everything I could. I did everything within my power. I'm sure the universe, I'm sure that God, I'm sure that a higher power will figure out how to get me through this. Maybe the next day, the person that you owe the $5,000 to calls you up and says, listen, I had to run out of town. I don't need the money today. It's okay if you need a few extra days, whatever. Or maybe something else happened. Or maybe $5,000 comes as a tax rebate that you didn't remember you were going to get, or whatever. But you will survive, or maybe you'll still owe the $5,000, but you're not going to die because of it, right? And you'll pay it with a little bit of interest a month later, whatever. But you will somehow get through and accept that this is what the plan of the universe is. This is what was meant to be. So learning to let go of all that worry, but which I'm still really good at doing, but I have to remind myself. I have to tell myself. I might even start to worry and then go, wait, Bravo, you're worrying. You're worrying. Instead of just literally being, hey, I did everything I'm supposed to do. I'm sure it's all going to work out. Right. So that's one.
Are you ready to let's have you jump into your heart the whole way? Not that you're not already there, but are you ready to take a few little just gymnastic steps with the universe? Very quick, easy stuff. We'll make it short and sweet, but I'm going to put up one angel photo, just joy. And if you don't mind putting up your hand or using yourself as a hand, feel her vibe. And if you don't mind getting one reminder from her to you for all of us about something about life, she'll share it directly with you. And I can't see anybody, but if you want to breathe more through your mouth at home to turn it up more, if you want to use your hand, the very first time I tried to use it, I was like, oh my God, I don't know if I can use my hand. So don't worry about it. Like, it's like driving a car. You're either excited or scared at the beginning, but then
I'm using it.
yeah, 6 months later, you were like, whatever, about driving. Okay, what are you getting from Joy as a reminder for all of us?
Well, Joy is reminding me that you asked me something I never answered. Well, I answered part of it, but I didn't answer all of it. But she's reminding me that I have a question for you that's related to a question you asked me, which is I'm trying to wrap my head around something that I believe exists and have already experienced, but I experienced it so minimally that I'm letting doubt come into play when there shouldn't be doubt. But are you familiar with this concept of quantum jumping?
I mean, vaguely, yes.
So I first heard it and was like, and Joy is reminding me, Joy was kind of reminding me, Bravo, don't forget about quantum jumping. That
Yeah, your
quantum,
doubt will certainly put an end to the discussion on quantum jumping. You won't have to worry about it as a topic if you've got any doubt.
there you go. Right. Right. So quantum jumping is where you basically, in another dimension, know things that you don't know now. Like you know how to play piano in another dimension. You know how to play. You're a world class pool player in another dimension.
Or photography and art that you just hadn't
That's
paid attention to until you paid attention to it.
There you go. And so you would ask me that question. I never really directly answered. If I had been a photographer or an artist in another incarnation or dimension, which I've never actually experienced that I was.
Hold
I
on.
never.
I've got your expert here. If you go full
Ah,
stop, just silently, and oh, I forgot to, of course, probably forgot this last 7 shows we've taped. 210 shows taped, and I hope I've said this at least 50 times. Set your intent to the universe for anything, a cup of tea. Ask angels, the universe, to get you out of your head into your heart. Own it with a thank you. That's all you need. Angels, get me out of my head into my heart. Help me have a great walk. Thank you. Set your intent. It's like thank you, I love you, patented by Bravo Valenti. Here's Charlotte. Close your eyes, have her show you the time period. One of many times you might have been an artist. Breathe through the mouth to turn up the volume. Hear a very crisp voice from this, like, sister of Audrey Hepburn. Elegant, long silver hair. She'll come right in. She loves doing reveals of past lives. Say, got it out loud when you got it, then come back. And what did she show you?
got it.
What were you?
It was in the 1920s, and which I can believe because I've actually channeled a previous incarnation of a model friend of mine when she had lived before as a model for the Art Nouveau artist Alphonse Mucha. Um, and when I told her that, she had been drawing a picture that she was practicing from an Alphonse Mucha poster at her home while I was somewhere else. And I called her and said, you're a reincarnation of Alphonse Mucha's model. And she picked up the drawing that she was doing from Alphonse Mucha. So she and I have had a lot of cosmic type connections. And so it doesn't surprise me that she says it was in the 1920s. Also, Victor Vasarely was born in the his career started, I should say, he graduated college and he began his career in the 1920s.
How about we ask an angel named Heather? Even her name is the word heart rearranged with a few extra letters. She makes hearts in her photos.
Wow, that's beautiful.
And
Amazing.
and sometimes when I used to take I haven't taken photos in like a year or so, but sometimes the photos don't quite come out. I took them too soon by a half second, too late. But
Right?
here's the heart that I use.
It
Here from
works.
her, no accidents in life, and hear about that particular connection you both had.
Well, I'm going to show you it because it connects exactly to what you just said about the hearts. It's unbelievable that you used that story about the hearts and asked this question because I was going to actually say this to you and then said, no, let him ask his next question. And your next question was this.
We're going double loop-de-loop here. I love this.
It's unbelievable. No, your next question was this. So this photograph, which I wrote, thank you, I love you on, but this photograph of the heart cloud, right,
Love it.
was that girl, the angel that I was telling you about who drew the Alphonse Musha, when I said she was the model, who was a reincarnation of an Alphonse Musha model, I was on a FaceTime call with her while I was in Brazil on this river. She was in the United States, and while we were on FaceTime, she saw the heart reflection only in the river. And I turned around and saw that it was the reflection of the cloud above. And I just said, oh my gosh, Alexandria, I have to take. And I turned around and caught that picture, which is like one of my favorite photographs. It's like a Magritte painting.
I love it.
And it's the hearts, like your friend who does the hearts.
Talk to us just a little bit about staying open for just 1 second. I'm looking for one thing and just staying open. How important that is. When you can remember to remember, if you remember to remember. And I took one of a cloud once when I was in a wolf phase.
Wow. I love it.
And at least I think I see a wolf there. So
that's all that matters.
All that matters. Openness is important. With that, you're getting your probably final angel, but you still might do Geronimo and Elvis in a little bit. Try to help me remember that. Maybe Sri Shirdi Sai Baba from India to start to wrap it up on the woo-woo-woo side, except here's a Min, silhouette of a guardian angel, Dr. Karen Wyatt, episode 110, August 30th. You can watch her show. She's met her when she was a little kid. She's met her on Redondo Beach on a walk as a human. That's my guardian angel as well. Light waves of energy and water, Pacific Princess, Mother Hawaii. If you want, start catching Hawaii in the room. Ask her if you've got this. I'm going to just show you some light energy on my hands, and you can ask for a little extra from the universe. Remember, seeing energy, no big shakes. It's like driving a car. But have her do some private humor with you. It's only a function of breathing and being the heart, which if anyone is an F-18 fighter pilot at being in the heart when you want to. You got a little affirmation from her, thumbs up.
She's a very intense angel.
Ask to be rippled, light waves of energy and water. Feel something oceany with her, fluidity, flexibility. And here you've got this from her. Got it? Okay, I'm just putting up a black cardboard. Blue sky is number one, like that photo you had. And anyone can just pretend they have 5 diamond rings, then take the diamond rings away and see their light on their hand, but you'd have to be really open and not thinking and caring. So athletes know it as the zone. Artists know it as click. Good photo. Okay, here is 2 fingers and 1 Sesame Street dad joke. Bert and Ernie, Sesame Street. Bert offers Ernie ice cream. What's Ernie say? Sherbert. See a little film and a light between my fingers. A little wavy stream. What color do you see?
Oh, yeah, totally see it.
What color?
It's a yellowish orange.
Perfect. Now, ask the universe to step in the greatest. You're a professional manifester. Bravo. Ask the universe silently in your heart, all your angels, all your artistic angels, to add an extra image of light. People have gotten phoenixes, they've gotten flowers, vortexes, something that you know is not my flow. You might get a pink heart floating above it. What are you getting from the universe that's totally separate or clearly different than my energy.
Inside the energy field itself?
Could be inside. People have gotten everything lately. It could be inside. It could be above it. It could be anywhere. You let the
Ah,
universe just do its job like you do as an artist. You're a professional.
I see what you mean. Oh, I see. Absolutely. Oh, sure, sure. I see it now. I didn't see anything at first. I see it now.
What do you see?
I see uh, like a robed. I'm trying to see if it's male or female. A robed angelic sort of figure.
I love it. So you just blew away that one little part where you were talking about not seeing light, aura, everything else. You just undid all that. Congratulations.
Yes, yes.
Okay, I had one more thing for you. Older Geronimo and Elvis, if you don't mind, they've got plenty of words of wisdom like you do for us all. And this has just been an incredible interview. I'm just bringing these guys back up, though. Here's Geronimo for you, older Geronimo. He's action, dry wit, a little bit of slang. Like, duh, you already know the answer. Bravo, you've been living it. But what's older Geronimo have for you to remind you of something that you're supposed to just mention? He's got something for you to queue up with us.
Well, older Geronimo wants me to mention that my first third eye experience, I ended up having at the time, what I did not know was a past life recall because I didn't believe in past life recalls. And I kind of suspected that that's what I had experienced, but I said to myself, how is it possible? Because in my past life recall, I was actually inside a Indian teepee with a Indian chieftain and like sort of like a sweat lodge kind of thing. And my family has no indigenous background. And so I didn't think of it as a soul journey. I thought of it as like, actual DNA genetics. So I kind of discounted the experience. But over the course of time, it became obvious to me that I, as a medium, have some special connection with indigenous peoples. And I've received many, many messages from indigenous peoples, predominantly from South America. In fact, I just received one last week from a young electronic musician in Venezuela who contacted me because he saw one of my paintings of indigenous people, of an indigenous person from the Amazon, and felt compelled to contact me. So everything I do connecting to indigenous people seems to be a connection. And I think Geronimo has appeared to remind me to tell people that as we put indigenous peoples at risk of extinction, we're really putting ourselves at risk of extinction. That we are descendants of, we're actually slaughtering our own ancestors. The more primitive cultures, earlier cultures, indigenous cultures are what led to us being here today. Without them, we would not be here. When they are gone, it is only a sign that we are next.
I have one more for you. Just ask Geronimo if he's here silently in your heart as if you're at the supermarket so you don't get caught. You should hear a yeah, a duh. What do you think? Breathe, relax, just ask him if he's there. You don't need a photo. Got it?
Yeah.
He's very funny and very direct. Then ask for a sacred smell. I'm not lighting anything. So sage, sweetgrass, juniper, there's like 50 of those. Could be tobacco. Have it come in. What are you getting?
Tobacco.
Yay. Elvis, red, white, or blue? What's your choice?
Blue.
No fair, because before the show you knew what blue was, but you're gonna do blue.
No, no,
Sure.
blue. I always think Elvis blue suede shoes. You say Elvis, the first thing I think is blue suede shoes.
I know. Here's the blue one again. And if you don't mind catching a catchy tune in the background of some angels as background singers, just to make you start laughing hysterically, have Elvis hand over a mantra that is in line with everything you talk about. That
Thank
is,
you very much.
yeah. And, oh my God, yeah. So it's,
Thank you. I love you. Thank you very much.
yeah.
He was,
And he doesn't mind.
thank you.
I love you.
Elvis, nobody had more gratitude than Elvis Presley. Seriously, his gratitude was way up there. Thank you very much. That's what he's known for, right?
One quick example of how thank you, I love you. It could have been a coffee shop last week, a year ago. Can you just share with us like thank you, I love you in action?
Sure. I have a friend who has been smoking cannabis for a very long time, and he actually is an ex-alcoholic and had overcome. He's been sober for many, many years now, but he still enjoys cannabis, and cannabis has been very good to him. It's helped him with concentration, with focus. He doesn't have any negative aspect of smoking cannabis. It's been very positive. But because he is a recovered alcoholic, a lot of people from the recovery world make you feel kind of guilty if you still use any sort of substance. But it's a very different experience than drinking. Very, very different. So, in any event, because his life was disastrous with alcohol and not disastrous with cannabis. But in any event, he had someone who owed him a lot of money, about $5,000. Not, I mean, a lot of money, yeah, but thousands of dollars, 5,000 at the time was actually a lot of money. And he said to me, and for is a lot of money. So he said to me, yeah, this guy keeps promising me the money, blah, blah, blah. One day after I had my thank you, I love you experience, we're talking, and he's talking, smoking some cannabis. I said, let me ask you a question. Have you ever said thank you, I love you to your cannabis? And he said to me, no. I said, look at all of the benefits it's given you, and you've never said thank you, I love you. Where is the love and gratitude in that? He said, you're right. And he took me very seriously. He went, cannabis, thank you. I love you for giving me focus, for helping me through my health issues, for taking away pain, for relaxing me. Thank you. I love you. I'm not sure if it was the next day, but it was within a couple of days that the guy who owed him $5,000 shows up after years and says to him, listen, I can't afford to pay you back the $5,000 right now, but I've been growing cannabis and I'd like to give you $5,000 worth of cannabis. I know you love to smoke. And he gave him $5,000 worth of cannabis. It's a true story.
I love it.
Is it thank you, I love you? I don't know.
Bravo. What's the best way people can check out your artwork? If you could just mention the fastest way.
Well, thank you. I love you for asking. My website, bravovalenti.com.
And your pieces have run the gamut. I mean, $1,500 on average for your paintings, yes, but all the way up into the tens of thousands of dollars.
Yeah, and look, if you ever see anything you absolutely love, I want my artwork to be with people who appreciate it, right? Make me an offer I can't refuse, and you never know, right? Or just be fair. But I always love to see my artwork in the right hands.
Can people get a reading if they go big with you on the price tag?
People who do go big do get readings whether they like it or not, because they usually can't avoid having their energy picked up by me as we get to know each other and I talk about what they're looking for. And I end up 9 out of 10, 99% of the time, we end up getting if they love my art, it's because we're connected.
Hey, we've covered everything: photographer, artist, painter, filmmaker, writer, social commentator, but I don't see air traffic controller for like goals or life guides here.
Well, it's a type of air traffic controller.
It is. Bravo Valenti, you've been incredible on Angels, Positivity, and Love. We're having you back, so people should look out in 2025 for your next installment here. Thank you for being on the show.
Michael, thank you. I love you. I love your audience. Thank all of you for listening, because Michael is amazing and he brings nothing but love, joy, humor, and positive vibrations to our planet.
Thank you very much, Bravo.
Take care.